Greetings, student. Let us start with a new chapter, The Summer of Beautiful White Horse by William Sarayan. Okay, now let us study about the author. William Sarayan Children was born on 31st August 1908 and he was an Armenian American novelist, playwright, and short story writer. He was awarded the Pulitzer Award for Drama in 1940 and in 1943 won the Academy Award for the Best Story for the film adaptation of his novel The Human Comedy. Sarayan wrote extensively about Armenian immigrant life in California. His notable work include The Armenian and the Armenian, My Heart in the Highland, The Time of Your Life, My Name is Aram, and The Human Comedy. The Summer of Beautiful White Horse Children is an extract from his collection of short stories, My Name is Aram, originally published in 1940. It is a story about two boys, Aram and Murad, who belong to a very poor family from the Galenian tribe of Armenian, known for their truth and honesty. Now, children, let us start with this chapter. The story, children, is about two poor Armenian boys who belong to a tribe whose hallmarks are trust and honesty. Okay? Whose hallmarks are trust and honesty. Now, one day, back there in the good old days, when I was 9 and the world was full of every imaginable kind of magnificence, imaginable that one can imagine, जिसका कोई कल्पना कर सके, ठीक है? That is imaginable. Magnificence, children, which is very splendor, shan, jo vaibhav ho, right? And life was still a delightful and mysterious dream. And it talks about life was delightful and mysterious dream that cannot be explained, children. Okay. My cousin Murad, who was considered crazy by everybody who knew him except me. So, who was considered very crazy? Murad. Okay. Came to my house at 4 in the morning and woke me up, tapping on the window tapping on the window of my room. What is tapping? Like this way? Can you hear? You tap gently, hitting gently. Okay. Aram, he said. I jumped out of the bed and looked out of the window. Okay, he said, Aram, he's calling out. Who's calling out? Murad. So I means the right. Aram jumped out of the bed and looked out of the window. I couldn't believe what I saw. It wasn't morning yet, but it was summer. And with daybreak ka matlab, children, when there is light, okay, halki si light aati hai. And when the day breaks, it's going to be morning. There is colorful, okay, orange, reddish. Not many minutes around the corner of the world, it was light enough for me to know I wasn't dreaming. So what do you call it? The writer says or the boy says, Aram, that one of his cousins, Murad, came to his window and he was tapping. And children, he says that it wasn't at that time. It wasn't morning. It wasn't night. Also, it wasn't morning. But there was light. He could see. My cousin Murad was sitting on a beautiful white horse. I stuck my head out. So he put his head out. Okay, so stucking head out means projected, bahar nikalna. ठीक है, out of the window and rubbed my eyes. What did he rub? His eyes. Okay, yes, he said in Armenian. What is Armenian? The language spoken by the people of Armenia. Okay, it's a horse. You are not dreaming. Make it quick if you want to ride. So what does Murad say? That it's a horse एंड यू आर नॉट ड्रीमिंग. ऐसे क्यों बोलते हैं? क्योंकि वो अपने आइज़ को बार बार रब करे जा रहा कि जो मैं देख रहा हूँ वो सही है कि नहीं है. तो बोलते क्विक, वो बोलते जल्दी करो इफ़ यू वॉन्ट टू हैव अ राइड. ओके चिल्ड्रन, नाउ लेट अस मूव टू दी नेक्स्ट. नाउ चिल्ड्रन, next, I knew my cousin Murad enjoyed being alive more than anybody else who had ever fallen into the world by mistake. Here, alive means full of life. Okay, who is lively. Okay, that doesn't mean he is zinda. जिंदा का मतलब नहीं, जिंदा दिल ही जो बोलते हैं. ठीक है, more than anybody else who had fallen into the world by mistake. But this was more than even I could believe. So he couldn't believe that he got a horse. Okay. In the first place, my earliest memory had been memories of horses and my first longing had been longing to ride. तो उन्होंने बोले कि मेरी मेमोरीज थी कि क्या हो, घोड़े हो मेरे पास. और longing means desire, उनकी इच्छा. और उसकी इच्छा थी कि क्या करे, वो राइड करे. ठीक है. देन this was a wonderful part. In the second place, we were poor. Poor मतलब हम गरीब थे, right? This was the part that wouldn't permit me to believe that I was. Sorry, children. This was the part that wouldn't permit me to believe what I was. He said कि मुझे believe नहीं था कि मैं क्या हूँ, गरीब. ठीक है. We were poor. We had money. Our whole tribe was poverty stricken. Poverty stricken means extremely poor. हम सबसे ज़्यादा poor थे. Every branch of the Garogalian family. Now, who were Garogalian family or tribe? They were the tribe in Armenia. Okay, children. Now, was living in the most amazing and comical poverty in the world. Comical poverty, funny. Okay, why? Nobody could understand where we ever got money enough. Now he says that nobody could understand where we ever got money enough to keep us with food in our bellies. Not even the old men of the family. उनको ये नहीं कि हमसे पैसा कहाँ से आएगा, हम अपनी bellies को कैसे fill रखेंगे. Most important of all, though we were famous for our honesty. तो वो पूरी ट्राइब क्यों फेमस थी? उनकी ऑनेस्टी के लिए, सच्चाई के लिए. ठीक है. what were they famous for their being very honest. Okay, we had been famous for our honesty for something like 11 centuries. ठीक है. Even we had been the wealthiest family in what we liked to think was the world. That means even when we had been the wealthiest family in what we liked to think was the world. Okay, we were proud first, honest next, and after that we believed in right and wrong. So that was the character sketch of the family, characteristics of the tribe. None of us could take advantage of anybody in the world, let alone steal. Okay, so वो क्या बोल रहा है कि हमारा जो था, हम क्या थे, हम बहुत ज़्यादा चिल्ड्रन अमीर थे. राइट, वी वर एक्चुअली वेरी रिच. कब? 11th सेंचुरी में. बट नाउ वी वर पुअर. ओके, इवन व्हेन वी हैड द वेल्दीएस्ट. बट हम किस चीज़ के लिए जाने जाते थे? अपनी ऑनेस्टी के लिए, ट्रुथ के लिए. हम किसी का फ़ायदा नहीं उठाते थे. Consequently, even though I could see the horse, so magnificent, so beautiful, splendor, even though I could smell it so lovely. ठीक है? Even though I could hear it breathing so excitedly, I couldn't believe the horse had anything to do with my cousin Murad, or with me, or with any of the other member of the family, asleep or awake, because I knew my cousin Murad couldn't have brought the horse, and if he couldn't have brought it, he must have stolen it. And I refused to believe he had stolen it. तो उसने बोले कि इतनी सुंदर जो क्या बोलते हैं हॉर्स है वो लेके आया है, और वो बहुत खुश था क्योंकि उसकी ये इच्छा थी कि वो इस क्या करे, इस हॉर्स को ड्राइव करे. ठीक है, तो वो बोल रहा है कि मुराद तो खरीद नहीं सकता था. ठीक है, तो फिर वो लाया कहाँ से? और हम ये बिलीव नहीं कर सकते हैं कि मुराद ने उसको स्टील किया है, क्योंकि लोग उनकी जो ट्राइब या फैमिली के क्या थे, कस्में खाते थे. किस चीज़ की? ऑनेस्टी के लिए. ठीक है, नाउ नो मेंबर ऑफ द गैरोगेलियन फैमिली कुड बी अ थीफ. I stared first at my cousin and then at the horse. There was a pious stillness. Pious. Pious. What does pious means? Very pure. Okay. What does pious means? Very pure. Right? Holy silence जिसे बोलेंगे. ठीक है. Stillness, silence. And humor. Okay. Funny. In each of them, which on the one hand delighted me and on the other frightened me. ठीक है, so it was a pious stillness and humor in each of them, which on the one hand delighted me and on the other hand फ्राइटन में. क्यों? क्योंकि वो ये बिलीव नहीं, एक तो उन खुशी बहुत थी. किस चीज़ की खुशी? हॉर्स को पाने की, उसको राइड करने के लिए. और डर भी था कि कहीं मुराद ने इसको चुराया ना हो, क्योंकि लोग उनकी ऑनेस्टी की, उनकी ट्राइब की ऑनेस्टी के कसम खाते थे. मुराद, आई सेड, वेयर did you steal this horse? Leap out of the window, he said, if you want to ride. तो उसने मुराद ने बोला कि मुराद, I said, where did you steal this? आराम बोलता है कि क्या तूने ये चोरी किया है? तो उसने बोला leap out of the window means come out of the window, he said, if you want to ride. It was true then. He had stolen the horse. There was no question about it. He had come to invite me to ride or not, as I chose. Now, children, what is happening? Now he comes to know that Murad had actually stolen the horse. Well, it seemed to me stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing something else, such as money. So he says, well, it seemed to me stealing a horse for a ride was not something सेम थिंग एज स्टीलिंग समथिंग एल्स. तो जैसा पैसा चोरी करना होता है, तो घोड़े को चोरी करना राइट के लिए सेम चीज़ें नहीं थी. फॉर ऑल आई न्यू मे बी इट वॉजंट स्टीलिंग एट ऑल. पर मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि ये कुछ चोरी का ही नहीं है. इफ़ यू वर क्रेजी अबाउट horses the way my cousin Murad and I were, it wasn't stealing. तो वो बोलते कि यार नहीं, ये चोरी नहीं थी. ठीक है, क्योंकि हम क्या करते थे, हम राइड करना बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद करते थे. It wouldn't become stealing until we offered to sell the horse. बोलते अगर हम क्या करते, उस हॉर्स को बेच देते, तब वो स्टीलिंग मानी जाती. विच ऑफ कोर्स आई न्यू ही वुड नेवर डू इट. तो बोलते कि हाँ, मुझे पता है वो कभी नहीं इस घोड़े को बेचेगा. लेट मी पुट ऑन सम क्लोथ्स, आई सेड. So he's saying to Murad, let me put on some clothes, I said. All right, he said, but hurry. उसने बोला ठीक है, अब क्या करो, जल्दी करो. I leaped into my clothes. I wore my clothes. Attire, kapde. Leaped means jumped into my clothes. I jumped down to the yard from the window and leaped up into the horse behind my cousin Murad. Now what is he doing? He wore his horse, came out of the window and sat with Murad. That year, we lived at the edge of the town on Walnut Avenue. Now, this is very important. Where did they live? They lived at the edge of the town on Walnut Avenue. Behind our house was a country, vineyards, orchards, irrigation ditches and country roads. So, उनके घर के पीछे क्या था? कंट्री साइड थी जहाँ पर विनयार्ड्स थे, ठीक है, ऑर्चर्ड्स थे. बचा विनयार्ड्स ग्रेप जो बोलते हैं ना, ग्रेप्स की खेती, orchards, fruits, irrigation ditches, and country roads. In less than 3 minutes, we were on Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. Trot means चलना. जब टक 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 की आवाज़ आती ना, उसको बोलता है walk in a steady manner. ठीक है, that is trot. Okay, the air was new and lovely to breathe क्योंकि it was fresh, it was in the morning, so that is why it is new and lovely to breathe. And plus they were riding a horse, which was actually his what do you call it, dream. The feel of the horse running was wonderful. अब उसको सबसे अच्छा लगने लग गया. My cousin Murad, who was considered one of the craziest members of the family, began to sing. I mean, he began to roar. Roar means sing in a very loud voice. My family was a crazy streak. Streak means trace or touch. ठीक है, सनक जिसे बोलते हैं. In it somewhere. And my cousin Murad was considered the natural descent of the crazy streak in our tribe. Before him, crazy streak मतलब जो बहुत ज़्यादा अजीब होते हैं, सनक जिन्हें चढ़ती है जो बोलते हैं ना. Before him was our uncle Khosrow, an enormous man, big man with a powerful head of black hair and the largest mustaches in San Joaquin Valley. A man so furious in temper, furious, full of anger. Temper, nature होता है ना, जिनका nature होता है कि गुस्से वाला है कि नहीं है. So irritable. Irritable is irritating. ठीक है. So impatient. ठीक है. Rash, who is very restless, impatient. That he stopped alone from talking by roaring. ठीक है. Roaring means shouting, right? It's no harm, pay no attention to it. वो हमेशा यही बोलते थे. क्या बोलते थे? It's no harm, pay no attention to it. That was all. No matter what anybody happened to be talking about. Once it was his own son Arik running 8 blocks to the barber's shop where his father was having his mustache trimmed to tell him their house was on fire. This man Khosrow sat up in a chair and roared, "It's no harm, pay no attention to it." The barber said, "But the boy says your home is on fire." So Khosrow roared, "Enough, it is no harm, I say." So children, what is happening? He's saying that he was so mad. Murad was so mad that he took the place of Uncle Khosrow. Okay, and how Uncle Khosrow was, when one day he was at barber's shop, his son came running to him. Okay, Arak came running to him and he said कि हमारा घर में आग लग चुकी है. तो उसने बोला पे नो अटेंशन टू इट, वो कुछ नहीं होगा, कोई हार्म नहीं होगा, पे नो अटेंशन टू इट. तो बाबर उनको एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं कि बॉय ये बोल रहा है कि घर तुम्हारे घर में आग लग गई है. तो खुशरो गुस्से से बोल रहा है इनफ, बोले रहने दो, इट्स नो हार्म आई से. My cousin Murad was considered the natural descent of this man, although Murad's father was Zorab, who was practical and nothing else. That's how it was in our tribe. A man could be the father of the son's flesh, but that did not mean that he was also the father of his spirits. इसका मतलब ये है कि जो मुराद के फादर थे वो ज़ुराब थे, तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिकल थे, ठीक है। तो वो बोलते कि ज़रूरी नहीं है कि उन्हीं का फ्लैश होना ज़रूरी नहीं था, ठीक है। ऐसा ज़रूरी नहीं थी कि उन्हीं की फ्लैश और उन्हीं के जैसे वो हरकतें करता है वैसी, जैसे ज़ुराब हरकतें करते थे वैसी मुराद भी हरकत करे, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था, कुछ डिफरेंट तो था ही। The distribution of various kinds of spirit of our tribe had been from the beginning capricious and vagrant. What is capricious means whimsical, okay, which is very maddening, okay. Vagrant, wandering soul, okay, जो मौजी होते हैं, right? So the distribution of various kinds of spirit of a tribe had been from the beginning. Capricious means which are very sun की जो बोलेंगे हिंदी में, and wandering soul means जो बहुत ज़्यादा मौजी होंगे, okay. Thank you children for this watching this video.